right. Welcome to Season 2, Episode 5 of Casual Disasters. My name is Madeline, and I'm the host of the show. It's all about elevating Spokane voices and all the creative people that live here in Spokane. Today, I have Shantell on the podcast. We actually met in a really funny way now that I think about it, but I won't even mention that. But mostly, I got connected to you from another artist. You were hosting an art show at the Chase Museum, I think is what it's called,
Gallery.
or Chase Gallery, at the City Council Chambers, right? And then I found out you were like this coordinator. I don't know what your title was, but for Spokane Arts. And as I've dug more into random things, I find that you've done it. Like the Hive, you were an art residency. And now you are the community organizer.
Community organizer at the Peace and Justice Action League.
Oh my God, that's so cool. And Shantell's fresh out of coming, was it like a retreat, a conference? What did they call that?
They called it an institute.
An institute.
Yeah, Somatics Institute. I mean, it has a bigger name, but that's pretty much the gist of it. It was a soma, your body. So connecting body, mind, connecting the world around you. I don't know. I just feel super deep now.
Yeah, I was going to say, what has transpired for you, or how are you feeling today?
Oh my gosh. I feel good. They do say when you come back, you know, watch for the snapback, like a rubber band. You'll just snap back into everything. And it's an opportunity to really ground and center myself. So I've been doing a lot of that. And I got back Monday. So every day this week, if I'm feeling I check in with myself, where am I feeling it? What's the feeling? And then you learn this thing, you learn all this terminology. I'm not going to go into it. All of it. I'm going to go into it, but not all of it.
Yeah, because I'm sure it's intense.
But you learn about your they're conditioned tendencies, so how you respond under pressure. And if you were doing any other soft science kind of process, kind of your boundaries, your body's way of communicating to you based off of your experiences. So your body is really trying to protect you, kind of like we seen in Inside Out 2.
Oh, I remember when you went. That's around the time I met you. You went to that movie.
Yeah, and I was obsessed. I'm I was crying. But how your body protects you under pressure based on institutions, school, which is an institution, family, and all of that. So just being aware of that, and how do I bring myself back to center, and what is my you also said a declaration. So what is my declaration to myself? What am I? And so focusing on that, and instead of sitting in that space where I'm just anxious, closed. So physically just opening, straightening my back, and taking a breath and checking in with myself.
Yeah. How many days? You just got back. Was it yesterday?
Monday.
Oh,
so
okay.
2 days ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you can tell if the feeling of I don't want to say regress,
yesterday.
But really?
Yeah. I noticed, and I was okay, stand up straight, breathe. I was still crying, but it was okay. I had to stand in my dignity, and kind of practice. So there is when you go to a thing, a conference, you come back and you're I'm going to adopt
every single one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've done that so many times.
Me too. And it was something that it connected me back to my body. Instead of, I'm a cognitive girly. I am just always in my head thinking.
Me too.
Processing, And so bringing the cognitive to the physical and aligning with them and not fighting against, not moving away from whatever it is, but kind of into it, noticing it, not judging it, because I do that too. Judgmental girly.
Yeah, me too.
But noticing it and here we go, you know? So anyways, I could go on and on. So
I love it.
You were doing something else.
No, you talk about that. Cause, every person I've had on like has like a passion project or a thing that they're like super into at the time that we record. Like, do you know Mariah McKay?
I do.
Yeah. So she was just on, and she's doing like a whole. We didn't even get into it on the podcast because it took a totally different turn. Mm-hmm. But we're gonna have her back. I'm gonna have her back on because she has like, I don't want to mess this up, but she's like doing something with like, kind of this philosophical like whole body mind shift practice right now, kind of similar as to what you're talking about, but. She's been going to all these retreats and places to like do healing, but also like learning practices. I want to know what she's doing. So last episode was just like, or with her was just about like, what do you do in Spokane or what you've done? Like we just went through like all the things she has been involved in like here in the community. But I was like, you could really go any way you want on the podcast.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So whatever comes up. But yeah, God, You've done a bunch of stuff because you've done art and now you're going into organizing. Is that like a huge shift or?
It kind of, in a way. So even before art though, like my career was in higher ed.
Oh my God. And I saw you worked at Eastern.
Yeah. So I worked at Eastern for 15 years. So that's my background. Like as out of college, trying to have an adult job. That was my first job.
So is that what brought you here from Buffalo? Mm-hmm. New York?
Yeah. And, I'm going to say it on a podcast. So I don't have to always tell people because it's like a funny but also embarrassing story. Like, you were a poli-sci history major, and you didn't know this, but after college, I applied to, I don't even know how many jobs. Like, I was going to teach English in Japan. I was like any job, but I applied at a bunch of schools, just like random colleges, because I was an RA when I was in college. And then they were like, you can do this as a profession. Like, you'll have an apartment, they give you food, you get a salary, you could go back to school. And that was my goal. I wanted to go back to school and get my master's, but do it for free because now I work for a university. And so I got the call, we want to do a phone interview. And so I'm just talking to my mom. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, if I get this job, like, we could pack up my car and drive over to Washington, blah, blah, blah. Like, just, 22. And my mom was like, well, is it Washington or Washington State? And I was like, oh, Washington. What?
Yeah, like D.C., duh.
Yeah, right. That's what I think of the DMV. That's what I think of being from the East Coast. And even I feel like on the East Coast, you don't even think of a Spokane, Washington.
No.
That's what I called it. And people are like, it's Spokane. And I'm just like, okay, well, okay. Rude. But we think of Seattle.
Yeah.
That's what you know. And you close to Oregon. Because that's how we say it. Oregon. Oregon. I'm like, what is this Oregon you speak of? Like, But anyways, the point is, initially, I didn't even know I had applied to a school in Washington State.
So you were like, yeah, I'm going to D.C. to work at Eastern Washington.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, yeah, Eastern Washington. And then, I came out for an on-campus interview, saw the lay of the land, and that's where my career in higher ed began. And I was going to go back to school, get my master's, and I didn't. I was like, I'm going to do this for 3 years, and then I'm going to just, like, maybe one day I could be a dean of students, like, high hopes. And I just was 15 years.
What were you doing in higher ed?
I started off as a hall director. So I was living in the dorms, in the trenches.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah, but you get your own apartment.
Okay.
You get it's not like the dorms at all. It's its own separate thing. And so I didn't mind it. I'm like, my first apartment, they're furnished usually.
Ooh.
I mean, like,
yeah, it's
like a soft landing into the real world, honestly, because you're still like, I stayed on campus when I was in college, so I'm like, I don't gotta pay rent, no overhead, save. I didn't.
Yeah, I was like, I did not.
Right. Like,
wait, where did you go to undergrad?
I went to a small little college on the Finger Lakes called Keuka College.
Oh, it sounds so peaceful.
It was right on a lake. It was on
was it?
Keuka Lake. Yeah, it was small.
Where is that?
It's near. Okay, I'm bad at geography, y'all.
Yeah.
I've already
Yeah.
said it. But so let's say Buffalo is west, and like New York City is east. It's like in the middle.
Okay.
Kind of, I think. I don't. Maybe. But Cornell.
Oh yeah.
Have you heard of that?
Yeah.
Like in that area roundabout, or like Ithaca.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Did you like it?
I did. It was fun. It was, it wasn't like a big school. I mean, it was a tiny. I don't even know how many people graduated with me, but
But your undergrad's in poli-sci.
yeah.
Wow.
And history.
Then
I thought I was gonna be a lawyer.
I could totally see you doing that
Yeah.
too.
But you gotta read.
Yeah, a lot.
I didn't read in college. I mean, I did. I made it. I graduated, but I was like, there's a lot. Like, and then you got to decide what kind of lawyer you want to be, and like, it just was too much.
Yeah. No. So wait, after that, you got this job at Eastern and realized it was in Washington.
Yeah.
Then you moved to Spokane. What was that like? To Cheney too.
Not even
Spokane.
Right.
Cheney.
Yeah. It was fine. I'm adventurous, kind of. I'm not gonna like climb a mountain adventurous, but I'll go somewhere adventurous. And when you're 22 and you're making more money than you've ever made,
probably felt awesome.
Yeah, it really did. And I look back at how much I was actually making, and I'm like, yikes. That was not a lot of money.
That's so funny.
But yeah, I enjoyed it. It wasn't. Cheney was small, but I mean, I don't know. I just thought it was so cool. I'm working at a college.
Yeah, it was really hard for me to find a job. So hearing that, like, that was not my experience. It was like the crisis of education where they weren't hiring. And so I had special education. I couldn't get a job here. I was like hustling all day, every day to sub. Couldn't even get a permanent position.
Wow.
Yeah. And that was like 2011.
Wow.
Yeah. There was like this really weird year. Well,
That's wild. I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
What's funny? I did change my major to education.
Did you?
For one semester.
Oh my God.
I didn't
hilarious.
make it. And I was my college specialized in special ed. Like that was one of their, and we have like a developed special ed program. And that's what I was going to do. And I like failed 2 classes. Like in all my college career, like I wasn't really failing. I was like a C student. And I was 22. I was like, C's and D's, get degrees.
Yeah, that is actually true.
Like, I'm not trying to be a doctor.
Yeah, me neither. My undergrad was bad.
Yeah. Yeah, it made it hard to try to get into, like, graduate school because they're like, no. So, I didn't make it. I didn't make it through that program. So I just switched my major right back to poli-sci. I was like, I'm trying to be done in 4 years. I don't want to,
That's funny because I'm like, I switched because I was failing. Like, I was a forestry major and failing everything. So I switched to special ed teaching.
Oh, wow. Forestry.
Yeah, I went to University of Montana. Then I moved to Italy. Then I came back and went to Whatcom in Bellingham. And then I finished my bachelor's at Eastern, actually, in special education.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Cool. They have a good program, too.
I don't know. Yeah, I heard a lot of the people left. There used to be a really good program out there.
Yeah.
It probably still is really good.
I think so. I mean, I haven't been there I left in 2020. So I don't know what it's like anymore, other than the scuttlebutt you hear.
Yeah, I just went down to that new campus downtown. Have you been to that? That new beautiful building?
Oh, the Catalyst?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I've never been.
Yeah, so I had a running start. Like, I have high school students, and I was the counselor at Spokane Virtual. And, yeah, we had our running start Eastern meeting, and it's beautiful. So we had our meeting there.
Oh, dope.
So I got to go. I was like, yeah, this would probably be the only excuse of why I'd be in this building right now.
Yeah, totally.
I felt like I was in a different Spokane, though.
Right.
like a tourist here because like that part of Spokane, like it's where that footbridge is. That's like really crazy. And then like, I don't know, that didn't exist while
I love that bridge.
Me too.
It's so pretty.
I went and walked across it. I'm like, I've never even been to this bridge, and I've lived here for like pretty much my whole life.
Yeah. Are you from Spokane?
Yeah, I'm from here.
Oh, okay.
Born, raised, and I left and came back.
Can I ask a question?
Oh yeah.
I'm not trying to like offend nobody's hometown.
I would never be offended.
I got beef with Buffalo, but I just feel like you said you in the Catalyst building, you felt like you weren't in Spokane. Why don't people want to like build nice things here? Like new stuff. Like what's the resistance? Like why stay mediocre? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like people, I mean, like if a new restaurant like on the South Hill and people are like, we don't want that here. And I'm like, but why?
Yeah.
Not just restaurants, but just like nice things, you know?
We talked about this. Josiah, he's a comedian, was on my podcast on Monday, actually. We recorded. And I was telling him, I don't know if this is true, but I had heard that, like, if you want a restaurant, like, if you have a chain and you're, like, trying to test out a restaurant success, you bring it to Spokane because it's really hard. If you can make something last in Spokane, like a restaurant or a whatever business, then it should last. It'll make it in other cities.
Got it.
So when you say that, I'm like, yeah, what is that resistance and hesitation of like newness or shift? Like over the last like 10 years watching, like you've seen this because you've been here now 20 years. So crazy.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah.
That is wild.
I'm like, how did I never meet you, by the way?
I know.
Yeah.
That part.
Because I'm like, we have so many we're not very separated by humans.
Right,
like that
right. Maybe because I was in Cheney all those years.
When did you move actually physically here?
2012.
Okay.
No. That's not right. 2012. Oh my gosh. Okay.
I don't know.
Like 2018. I don't know. I've been in Spokane proper for like 6 years.
Okay, so not that long.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's probably why.
That's weird though.
Yeah.
Because you do art, like.
Yeah.
Wait, what's happening? What's it called? Your like mini gallery.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
My black box gallery. It's literally like.
Just so you know, speaking of like not knowing something, like I thought that was like a full-on gallery room in real life,
like
and
not
then
even this big. It's smaller than a piece of paper.
I was blown away when I put together that wasn't a real, like a full room. Like
my
gallery.
mom too. She was like, "Where are you gonna store it? Is that because I put it in a photo box?" And she was like, "Is that someone's garage? Like, are you?" She was like, "You better not be living in a storage unit."
She thought you were like that was your house. Now.
Yeah, like
in somebody's garage.
Yeah, I was like, "Oh my gosh, it's bad over here, but it's not that bad." Like
you're like, it's a struggle right now.
Right. But no, I'm good. I was like, no, it's on my table. It's small. It's like really small.
And where did you have it? Oh, I think it was when you had it in like the forefront, and then I saw the river, or like you were in Kendall Yards, wherever you had it. Mm-hmm. So is it at a location or is it at home now?
Yeah, it's just at my house.
It's
so literally
funny.
in my apartment. I'm trying to figure out like where can I hustle it, like.
Yeah, can you put that somewhere?
Well, I was gonna see if the like that area, if we could like do a deal, like maybe we could get a grant or something, and I could put them like in Kendall Yards or something, and people could like come see them. Cause there's like mini galleries. There's one, I don't know where it's at, but they're on Instagram. It's in Spokane. They have a little mini gallery, but people can come look at it.
I want to do that. It's funny, like growing up, I was super into making like Barbie houses, like doll houses. And I would I remember hand painting like checkered flooring, like in my doll house. I would build these like intricate doll houses. Yeah. And I'm like, I'm down for this.
Honestly, it came at such a perfect time because I mean, I laugh at it and I do ridiculous stuff, but like I was really healing my inner child.
You were.
Like I was really just in it, like playing and just sitting with my little girl, like we're good, we're okay, like life is gonna be good, after, life, just lifing or whatever. So,
yeah. I was trained in play therapy, and I had never thought about it with adults till you just said that, like, Well, and I noticed this, like adults when they come in my office will like utilize the same things the children do.
Yeah.
While they're like trying to regulate, or like when you're talking about like the somatic, like those pieces of the body and mind, their anxiety will start to come out physically. Like I can see it, you know, and they're trying to like calm down.
Yeah.
But also that piece of like the child, like the inner child that like so desperately needs like those tactile, like playful, I mean, so many reasons somebody needs to play, but
Right. Yeah. Just a moment to not even avoid, but to just be and just kind of give your inner child the safety, you know, to, there's no shame. We don't have to rush, like just be here and have fun, you know, and that is okay to do. I just feel like when you get grown, you just be so serious. Well, because it is serious, you know. It's like, we got bills to pay, or, you know, like, so I get it. And I think it's like when you get past a certain age, it's certain things you shouldn't be doing anymore. But I feel like we still need to play.
Yeah, we do. I'm racking my brain, but I remember reading something recently about like artists or musicians, like, or maybe it was actors, like that piece of they played a lot, like they love play. I was like, yeah, that is like a really big piece of being like still like a comedian. I was thinking like those kind of role play improv, I don't know, like I think the creative process is a lot of like play, or can be.
Yeah, and you're experimenting, you're discovering new things, and you're figuring it out. And then when you feel good about it and you are affirmed in it, not that you have to be affirmed, but it's just something you feel like, you know, within yourself, and it's passion. That's passion. Hello. When you have, you know, find that passion for what you're doing.
Yeah. Oh, and then you're on the train. Aren't you on the train's like board for like the voting for the artists that come through or whatever?
I was on the jury.
Or the jury.
For Terrain 15.
I looked up. Well, I knew you were doing it, I guess, but then I saw the profiles. I was like, oh, who did the jury? And then I saw all of your guys' like, oh, and that's where I learned, because they had a little bio about you.
Oh, okay.
That you were at Eastern.
Yep. Okay. Yeah.
And I was like, where did I figure that out from?
That was hard.
Yeah, because
intense.
How many pieces of art were submitted this year?
Thousands.
Oh my God, are you serious?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It was fun though. It was just really hard because as a visual artist, I'm like, I want everyone's art everywhere.
Yeah.
You know, but you know, you don't have space. So,
how many did you guys get down to? What's the total number? Do you know the amount of pieces?
Over 400.
Wow.
Yeah.
Out of like 1,000?
Yeah.
Whoa.
More than 1,000. I'm sure I looked at more than 1,000 art pieces. Okay, maybe it was like 800. Maybe I'm dragging it.
Was it hard? Well, that's still a lot.
Yeah, like it was a lot.
It's pretty
no
much
matter
1,000.
What. Yeah.
But wait, like that's so crazy, and you just have to look and vote like through. Are you doing it all together? Are you doing it virtually? Like, how do you look at this art and vote on it?
I don't know if I could share trade secrets.
I'm sorry.
Maybe, I don't know.
Well,
I mean, yeah, you get together.
Someone kind of told me
there is criteria. Like, you're not just like, no, I don't like it, or I don't, you know, it's criteria. And it is kind of anonymous. Like, you don't really know
whose art is whose.
Yeah, like,
really?
Kind of, yeah. Like, it's kind of some I'm not gonna try.
Okay.
But yeah, that word. Yeah, and then everyone kind of pick, you know, you go through every piece as a group, every single piece.
How many hours did you guys do that for?
2 days.
I figured.
It took 2 days. Yeah, like a full work day. Yeah, it was fun though.
That's cool.
Real fun. I love like just seeing. I'm like, oh my gosh, I haven't seen this or this person, or this is such a cool idea. Or yeah. Just I went down to like do the photos or whatever. We had to do an artist drop off, and then I was like, wow, there's so many. And last year I volunteered at it, so I was an art runner, like putting the sold sign, like little stickers on people's art when they would sell. I would run and like
have to locate the art, which is also really crazy in that space.
Yeah.
They have an Excel spreadsheet. Have you seen this?
No, but I will. I'm volunteering.
Okay. Yeah. So at first I was at like custodial work when I got there. So I was like dumping garbages, stuff like that. And then they're like, no, we actually need you to do this art running part. And I was like, okay. And then, so there's like 4 floors and they'll say, it's so crazy, like southwest corner on the whatever, like over here. And you're like, shit, there's like all this art everywhere. Which piece is this? It was really, really.
I believe it. And they're like navigating through people.
Yeah, and you have hundreds of people there, so you're like trying to run through the people.
No, I hope I don't have to do that on Thursday.
There's so many different jobs.
Yeah,
so
I just kind of want to.
You just kind of, they'll like assign you, I guess. I don't know. When I showed up, they're like, this is what you're going to do. I was like, okay.
Yeah. Hopefully it's something.
I wanted to work in the bar. I was like, I want to be over there. But I actually appreciated seeing the art, though, running and seeing it.
Yeah. I saw you're in this year.
I know.
Congrats.
Thank you.
That's fun.
I know.
Is this your first time?
This is my first time. Never submitted before.
Wow. Did I even know you were an artist?
No, because I don't really tell people that.
Yeah.
This actually came up on the last podcast episode because I'm like, when can you identify this way?
Yeah. Right. When does it happen? Yeah.
Yeah. How do you become an artist?
Yeah. You just say it.
You do?
Yeah. That's what I did.
You just started to be like, like, how did you become, like, were you always painting?
No, I started like here, getting into it more. But I've always kind of been creative, like doodles and whatnot. And I just started one day and then I never stopped.
Wow.
Yeah. I've just developed like a style and kind of like a voice in my artwork, like what's coming up. And I was like, I guess we're doing it. Like, I guess we're an artist now.
How long do you think you were like painting or doing art before you're like, oh, I can say that I'm this?
I think when I like hung work at a coffee shop, I was like, okay,
like when you were actually like, I'm going to sell this or show it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that more. Yeah. Yeah. I got really into it during COVID lockdown, actually, is like when I started painting on a regular basis. I was doing all these free MoMA classes. They had they had all these virtual like classes. So I was more into interior design, and this kind of transpired into like, but then I was like teaching art therapy. Like I was trained in that. So then I was like, oh, I'll just paint for fun because it's like therapeutic without any kind of goal of like it being anything.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then it's like, that's how this kind of happened. I was like, I did all these paintings, and I was like, and I kind of do still paint, not as much as I want to though. But when we were in lockdown, I was painting like every day.
Yeah. It is so therapeutic. That's why I think I don't know. I'm like, this is an artist. Like I don't think there is the school route, and I guess you could credentially be an artist, and also you just are.
Yeah, the thing about, I don't know this for sure, but like the Andy Warhols, the Pablo Picasso, it's like, I don't know that they went to school for it. I don't know. I could be wrong about Andy Warhol, but I'm just thinking of like the big time artists or Jean-Baptiste, like people that are just like, they just do it. Like, and they're just really good at it.
Yeah.
And they find their own voice and style.
And people resonate with it, and you're sharing an experience. Like there's just so much that happens with creativity and art. Like you are communicating something, and like the fact that it can relate to someone, or someone sees something in it, or they have a moment within themselves. Like I think that's kind of dope that we get to do that. Like we get to create, I don't know, from that place, from that space. I don't know what I'm trying to say.
No, I get what you're saying. It's like, I get to do this thing that I feel like, I don't know, good about, or healing, or playful, or and then it's creative, and then people come and look at it. It does feel vulnerable too.
Yes,
like
very.
I wasn't sure how to approach like telling people I had done this, like, but then I just was like, fuck it, I'm going to tell everyone I did this and invite them to come see, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And you're sharing an experience. But it is vulnerable. Like, I also do poetry, so
oh wow,
even like
that's very vulnerable.
It very. It's just like, what am I doing? Feelings or thoughts? I don't know. Yeah, but even in creating art, it's like, I don't know. I think you do have to have a balance, like, of like ego and all of that. Like, I think that can get tricky.
Like, not too cocky, but cocky enough to put his heart out.
Or not even that. Like, if people affirm your art or not. Like, what if people don't like it?
Ugh, it's been so...
Yikes.
Yeah,
like,
that's my
I don't even care because I did this for me, like, but I care a little bit. Like,
yeah. Like, I kind of want you to like it.
Right. Like, the first time I got accepted at Terrain, I, like, low-key just kind of watched my piece. Like, are people liking it?
No way. You were just, like, standing back and saying, like...
Yeah, I would just, like, casually walk by, like, okay, what's the vibe? What's the, feeling? Did it sell?
Well, that's the other thing, the pricing of that.
Yeah.
I was just... What I want to do is, if it sells, I want to give the money back to Terrain. So that was my mindset, because I was like, I'm not trying to make money. I don't want the money. Because I was like, this is too vulnerable.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm giving it to Terrain if it sells.
Yeah.
As my, like, whatever. I just want to support them. But,
So,
yeah, but, like, I am like, how do you price your own thing? Like, that felt really vulnerable.
Yeah.
Is it worth this? Like, I don't know.
And I'm just like, well, I think it's worth it. Like, especially, I mean, just from a, like, basic standpoint of, like, you invested in it, so you spent your dollar on it. But then also this idea of, like, you're owning a piece of something that, like, flowed from someone else in, like, a deep way, or maybe you admire that is something that's just, like, so visually appealing, or something. I admire work that I can't do. I'm like, man, that is so dope. Like, and just being able to have that, or having something that's one of a kind, like, from someone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that I do a lot of abstract, like, and I think people are like, oh, what do you paint? Are you painting this, like, beautifully? I think they're picturing, like, these shaded faces that are like 3-dimensional.
Right.
And I'm like, I don't do that kind of art.
Yeah, same.
And then they think, like, I feel this judgment immediately.
Right. Like, so
like,
are you an artist?
Yeah.
Like, my 3-year-old can do that. It's like, okay, like, maybe they can. I don't know.
Shit, put them in Terrain.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Like, you should see these. My kids made me Frida Kahlo's, like, face when I left Grant, and I'm just framing them right now. I'm like, these are more beautiful than anything I would ever, like, think of making. And it's from my children. Like, I'm going to have them framed and hung, like,
That's dope.
And I'm like, they made me, like, I'm telling you, like, 30 faces of Frida, but all in their own way.
Yeah, so, like, just different not profiles, but, like, palettes.
Yeah, and it's so cute. And I'm like, but it's beautiful too. I'm like, this is really badass. And actually, on that note, a lot of people didn't think Frida Kahlo was talented during her lifetime. And look at her now. I was like, she's not even here to experience that, but no one gave a shit about her art. Really, it was not as big as Diego Rivera's. And I barely know who he is compared to her. You know what I mean? I'm like, so we don't even know the impact, or, like, the lasting,
And when I had like, my really, like, resting in the idea that I would call myself an artist or creative or, like, own that, I got to experience the Kenzie collection, I think is what it's called. And it's this Black couple that wanted to invest in Black art. And so for years, they saved her, like, one of their salaries so they could buy a collection of art. And so this is it's like a show that travels, I guess. So it was at the Tacoma Art Museum. and beautiful. Like, they just had art from all Black artists, like known, unknown to me, maybe, and then they do like historical stuff, super super dope. And I was walking through the museum, just like taking in all this art, and I start to see pieces that felt familiar to me, like on a very, like, I felt it level, like, and then the work reflected my work, and I have never heard of these artists, seen them, and it made me think and feel something deeper about my practice of art, of like this deep ancestral connection to art and creativity, and like what like how it is just in our roots. Like, I won't get into like all of epigenetics, but like what if some of those bright spots of like our history can also like transcend time and space, and like live and breathe through me.
Oh.
Like, it just felt real deep, because I'm like, I've never heard of this artist. Like, I've never
and you're like,
this,
and they're doing this similar,
like practice that I'm doing. So it just felt very like connected spiritually somehow, like ancestrally. Yeah.
I really think about that. Like, somebody was saying to me I was recently telling my aunts that I'd submitted this art or whatever, and they're like, oh, this person and this person in your family were painters. And I'm like, I've never knew this. Like, anyone was doing any of this in my family. Like, I don't know why no one really talked about it. And it's only recently that I found out, like, other people in my family were really into art and creative stuff, because I've always been into it, but like I always felt a little bit like no one else was into it.
Yeah.
But I know that my brother, my sister, they're very creative. So I was like, where does this come from?
Yeah.
It's like a part of us.
Yeah,
like, but that painting, similarly, I'm like, that'd be really interesting to look across, like, I don't know, culturally, like how artists present it, like their painting and art.
Yeah.
Like, genetically, historically.
Right. Because, like, just the experiences that must have been happening. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. Just a lot.
Well, even this time period of, like, I was thinking, like, Black artists, Native artists, whatever, like, depending on, like, when you're alive and that experience of being alive and being that race, like, I don't know, is there, like, this connection of, like, feelings and emotions that are, like, I don't know, transpiring into art that you guys are doing similarly, or we are. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, I think about that, and in that moment, I definitely felt that. Honestly.
That must have been like, not like a deja vu, but kind of like you're
kind of.
I know this.
Crying a little bit. I was like, okay, now my face wet. Like,
that's like if an art piece moves you like that.
Yeah. It was just to be in that energy was amazing. So it just made me like just keep going, keep doing it.
And that's when you were like, I am an artist.
I think it was just like, no, for real. Like, take it serious. Like, if that's what you desire, if that's what you want to do, and I do. So I'm, taking it serious.
And you have.
Yeah.
You've done a lot for the art community of Spokane.
Yeah.
In your time here.
For sure. Like, I mean, I won't say for sure like that, but I mean, working for an arts organization, you get to, support artists in the arts in cool ways that I appreciate it.
Yeah. I was just thinking of like a person I knew, a person of color that moved here, like was so shocked of how open and welcoming you were. Like, whoa, they want me to do this and they're so kind and open. And I was like, yeah, that's like, I mean, you're like giving a space for people that visit or come to Spokane to not think of, I think a lot of people have this image of Spokane being like not open and welcoming or like kind of cliquey, cold. And so like hearing that, I was like, yeah, there are people like that here. There really are.
Yeah, for sure. There are. And I'm glad I could be one of them.
Yeah, you and you're not even at this point I'm like, you're pretty much a local almost.
Right. Okay. After 20 years, like, at least I mean, I don't know. I don't count Cheney, Spokane, so.
Yeah, I always think, I don't know why, but it's weird. I spent a lot of time out in Cheney. I like dated someone who lived there, and so I would go commute and like stay in Cheney a lot. And it's just a different,
it's just a whole different vibe.
But I always felt like it was a suburb or something of Spokane or something.
Yeah, totally.
Like, you know, you're near Spokane, but you're like away.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, and it's the funny thing about it is like it's not a college town.
No,
you
but
know?
they think they are. It's funny.
I don't even.
Do they think they?
I don't think so. I think they acknowledge, like, I mean, when the students are here, yeah. When the Eagles are doing good, yeah. But you know, in the summer it shuts down, and so it's. I don't know. I've been to college towns. Like, my college wasn't a college town. Well, first,
like a Pullman, you mean? Like a WSU college town? Because they're tiny as hell too.
Very small.
But they're very like about that. Yeah.
I had no clue. I went a couple. I had a little short stint at WSU Spokane, and so I finally got to go to Pullman for a trip, and I was like, whoa, it is everywhere. Like, we went to the Walmart. I was like, okay, it is WSU'd out.
Even though U of I is there, it's still like WSU everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere. It was kind of cool to see. I like being on college campuses.
Me
don't
too.
know what it is.
It like, I don't know, invokes like, I don't know.
Like, what is that?
Yeah, I'm thinking about going into higher ed. I actually met with Gonzaga recently to teach classes there.
Oh, dope.
Yeah, so in the counseling program that I went through, so I'm hoping that'll happen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, but I just coming back, I hadn't been on that campus, really on the campus since I graduated like 10 years ago. I was like, wow, this feels so like we're learning.
Right. I don't know. You know what I love about college campuses is the bookstore.
Oh, I love
like,
those.
Take me to the bookstore. Like, let me
I
see
want
what
the
they get
I want the gear and does it invoke like hope, like learning of education?
What is it?
It gets me really hyped.
Me too. I just love being on them.
Me too.
Yeah, we used to, when I was in higher ed, we would go on. I advised one of the student groups, the Residence Hall Association. It's just so funny because like all my life, like, I have done things that would, like, this is me being funny, so like, don't nobody take offense, please. I thought I was like just doing cool, dope stuff.
Yeah.
I am a nerd.
Yeah, so you're presenting as this like really, because you look like an artist, you look like cool, and then you're saying, but underlying is the core is a nerd.
A nerd. Like, I played in the band in high school, nerd. Okay, like. I was in junior ROTC. For what? Like, I was just doing stuff.
Wow.
And so when you in res life, you are kind of the nerd.
No, you're a nerd. Like, I can't. When you said, I was like, Shantell was a Residence Hall.
Yeah, a nerd.
Literally, when you said that on this episode, I was like, wait, what?
She was a nerd. Just changed the tone of the whole podcast.
Yeah, I was like, okay.
Yep, I was
this artist, like, you know, I always think of artists as like angsty, like kind of fuck the government, fuck institution.
I am that too.
So you even working for higher ed was like, wait, what?
Yes, I'm in there like, oh my gosh, like, so corny. It is so, because it's like camp.
It is.
You know,
it's like it is like a summer
camp. It's like camp, and I'm like not 30 years old dressing up with the kids. Like, what? And now I'm like holding up my hand to get the room attention, like, so everyone will be quiet.
That's such a camp counselor.
Right. Just camp.
You are like an RA, that is such a camp counselor to me.
Yes. You're making signs. You're making door decorations. You're welcoming everyone. You're going to the event. I mean, nerd. Nerd.
A nerd. That's
you're not even like a part of the cool stuff. Like, you're going to the cool stuff as like
a cheering it on for
a nerd. As a nerd.
He was like, I can't come here, but I'm gonna cheer you on.
Man,
from the sideline.
It was so fun. I had fun though. Like, I was so corny though. Like, my friends will make fun of me. Like, the stuff I was doing, just like, you just get into it. I don't know. My mother, like, I went to a football game and I had on like the Eagles on my eyes, like Eagle gear.
Yeah.
Nerd. I buy into stuff. I'm like, yes, we got a red turf. Like, my mother was like, you did not go to school there. What are you doing? I'm like,
but I worked there.
I work here. Like, it's
I have
fun.
to rep it.
Yeah. I'm having fun.
That red turf is their signature, like.
No, for real. Like, the way I was, like, hyping it, I'm like, oh, my gosh. We've gone undefeated all season. It's the turf. Like, it's the inferno.
Wait, have you seen that I went to Eastern. They're going to get a new stadium, like an official one with the red turf.
I guess. Like, when I was there, they were doing it, so I don't know.
Oh my God, I know. They just rolled out an article in the Spokesman, and I was like,
I
was like, are we
it
should
takes time though, I guess.
Maybe it is time. I mean, it kind of feels
and
like
the pandemic happened.
Oh.
So
maybe that delay. It is surprising because like I went to University of Montana, which they're pretty big rivals, and they're like a similar, but yeah, Eastern's just so different. It's a very commuter school.
Yeah.
Because I did commute. I commuted out there. Yeah. Like I would take the STA from under the freeway out.
Right to the pub.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was one of those students because I was also like coming back at like 22 or whatever or 21. I don't know. I like should have been done or something, but I was like going further to switch my degree like 5 times. So it's like, yeah, you're going to be in school for a minute. But yeah, just going out there, I didn't feel as connected. Like you were saying, that college town life is, because Missoula is very like.
Right. Yeah. And that was another, like, I just believed in it so much. I'm like, we can get people invested.
Yeah,
and,
we got to get them.
They'll want to be here after, they'll want to engage. I was into it. But I feel like anything I do, I just really get into it if I love it. And I was just having a grand old time until I wasn't. And I was like, okay, we got to go.
How many years were you there?
15.
And what else? Were you always in residence
I was always
life?
in housing, yeah.
Wow.
So most of the time I was a hall director. I think I did that for 12 years. And then the last 3, I moved into the housing office administratively. I was like academic multicultural coordinator or something like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so were you like trying to help, or like what does that position do? Like get more students
so you
access or on campus?
Yeah, you're doing programming for students who live in the dorms, like for academics. So like academics and wellness. So I had like academic coaches who would do little different programs in the hall. You keep track of like grades and stuff, make sure everybody's doing good. And then you do multicultural programming. And then with that role, I started a program at Eastern. And it's so funny because I just saw a picture yesterday on Instagram and the program is still going. But
I saw you post it.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, this program.
Yeah. So it was this program called Eagle Fam.
And you started that?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And it was like the FAM stood for like familiarize, affirm, and matter. So we brought back first year students of color early to kind of do a bridge program to kind of, introduce them to campus resources, introduce them to other students of color, all the programs that would support them, academics, and building community, like, with
That's
each
so
other.
Cool.
Yeah, it was cool. It was like my colleague went to a conference and was like, what about this? And I was like, maybe. And then I pulled in like all these campus partners who had passion around, supporting students, underserved students sometimes, all the time.
Yeah, like all the time.
Brought them all together, and it was cool because we had just opened our multicultural office, so I worked with their director, and then we collaborated on it, like wow. She, both of us, like, and then once I left, like, yeah, she had it, and then it's still happening. So
that's amazing to see
cool.
something you've done, like, still, like, you know.
Yeah, it was cool. It was real dope to see it still happening and to just have a hand in something that you feel passionate about or passionate for. You know, supporting students in a genuine and authentic way, and not just to say, like, we support students of color, you know, like.
It's like, but do you?
But
like, how do you?
How, right? Like, because from what I've seen, it's giving no. But yeah, so it was cool.
Yeah, that's always the. I've never had a program sustain that I've started. So, like, hearing that, I'm like, that's really cool. Like, I'll start programs at buildings I'm in, and then I leave, and they're done.
Yeah.
And that always breaks my heart because I'm like, oh, the students were so engaged and so passionate. And then I'm like, yeah, you just would hope, like, especially something like that, an inclusive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that, I think that just speaks to so much. Like, I don't want to get on a whole soapbox, but I just feel like you know, these institutions sometimes, you know, only, I guess it depends on where you are, right? Like, regionally and all of that. But specifically with PWIs, like, you really only have a handful of people who would be passionate about, you know, really supporting students in a meaningful, authentic way, in a way that you didn't have, you know, or in a way that you felt like your higher ed experience could have been different if you had a mentor or someone who actually saw you and understood maybe what your experience might be on a campus that you're not familiar with people, and the culture is different away from home, you know?
Yeah. I was thinking about that because, yeah, it's just, like, hard to get you. I always feel like I'm in a, like, silo doing that work. And I'm always trying to find other people who are, like, passionate, but it's even in the K-12 system very similar. Like, I don't know what I thought was happening in education, but I thought when I was, like, a naive 22-year-old, I was like, yeah, everyone's about social justice. That's why everybody came into education. They're fighting this. That's why you became a special ed teacher, because you know they're underserved, and, you know, marginalized kids or kids of color are being overrepresented in those groups. So you're going to fight the man. Like,
right.
No. I was like, wait a minute. No, I'm just dying on all these hills. And what? Like, why isn't anyone? I remember my co-counselor. She was, she's a principal now. She's this older, or well, she's not older, actually. She's this Black woman who, like, had been pulled out of her teaching position and forced into counseling, which was really weird because she had both credentials. And so they made her go back to school counseling. And I remember I would be running around, like, collecting clothes, doing all this crazy stuff. And she's like, Madeline, like, you're just going to have to, like, you're too much. Like, you're too green. Like, someday you'll see, like, you're going way too hard.
Yeah, which is, like, wild. That's so unfortunate.
I know. And I was like, what do you mean? She's like, you won't be like this forever. And I was like, really? And everyone's like, I still am kind of like that. Today, I got really upset that I work for we didn't have food being provided at the virtual program, but then I found out we could have food. I just needed to ask somebody. But I was like, why wouldn't they serve kids in my virtual kid? You know, like, we don't have a kitchen. So I was like, how do my kids access the free breakfast and lunches around the district when they're not enrolled in a person's school? Right. So figuring that, but those things that you're like, these weird barriers that are actually a huge problem, because I'm like, the taxpayers, the government, whoever, you guys are funding those lunches for all my kids. They still have a right to access those things. Right. Yeah, it's been, but you find these barriers for kids, and you're like, aren't we all fighting this? What?
Right.
You're not pissed off about this?
Then what are you doing it for? Like.
But I could see that in higher ed. It's probably really intense.
Yeah. I mean, I only had that 1.5 experience, and so I'm very limited. But when I was graduating from my undergrad, my mentor told me, and I was like, I want to go into higher ed. Like, I had researched it, like, as much as you could then. You know, like, it wasn't like we had a developed Google system. I think I was still on Ask Jeeves, but
Ask Jeeves. I forgot about Ask Jeeves. Where is Ask Jeeves? Did that become like an app or something?
Right. I wonder if you could still ask
Is it because of Google? Is like,
they must have got, I think maybe they got bought by Yahoo.
Ask Jeeves, where is he?
Oh.
I forgot about that.
Yes. And I'm like, I think I want to, like, they gave me something to believe in. Like, those job descriptions are so, like, aspirational. Like, you get to develop and, you know,
like,
like,
oh, yeah.
I'm like, yeah, okay. Like, I was a student. I'm going to hall direct and be a part, you know, a nerd. Just that twinkle in my eye. I don't know.
I'm the same. I like am really nerdy about like the stuff that I do.
You know what? I was going to say it earlier.
I was like, this is one nerd to another.
I was going to ask, like, are you a nerd?
It's kind of weird because I also present way cooler than I am. And then people will be like, oh, you're so intimidating. You're so cool. I'm like, what? And then I'm like, what do you think's happening over here?
Right.
Like, I'm like really fixated on like the things that I'm like into.
Right.
And I pour all my energy into it and like nerd out about that topic.
Same. Exactly. Like, nerd.
Yeah. I think you think that something else is happening here. That's not.
That is not. I promise. I am in bed watching Netflix, rubbing my feet together. Like,
yeah, I went to bed at 8 p.m. last night.
Yeah. And I've been getting in bed earlier. And, you know, I got a new job. So
I know, that's exciting.
I'm like, we're going to be on time. We're gonna get it right. I had it right the last time, but we're going to, like, get it right. And, you know, so I've been trying to do a little earlier. And then I went to that retreat, so I'm feeling a little, like.
Yeah, do you feel like, I don't know, peaceful and like.
Tired. I'm tired. Like, I was really, you're doing so much, like, you are doing a lot of physical, like, I did sit back and watch myself, and I was like, nerd, and we're not going to judge it. It's one of those things, like, at first you just kind of see it, and you're like, who does this? Like, who just is walking around centering themselves all day? Like, who, like, I just kind of had that attitude kind of at first.
Yeah.
And the way the facilitators, like, they're so intense and, like, there's so much eye contact. And I'm like, oh, my gosh, okay. Like, it's a lot. Like, because, like, then you learn, like, closing your eyes is cutting yourself off from the world. Thus, you're not connecting.
Oh.
And I'm like, who centers with their eyes? Oh, you know, just.
Wow. I have not heard that, and that's so true.
And I bought into it. I got into it. We learned how to use the jokata, which is one of those like sticks that sometimes you'll see people like.
Oh yeah.
Doing very like cool moves with their baggy clothes.
Yeah.
Flips, and we didn't do flips, but we got sticks that we were like in the woods, like. Turning them, and you know, I don't know, and then we like got in the rhythm and clacked them together, and yeah, it was dope.
Wow.
Yeah.
I never knew what those were.
Yeah.
I've seen it though.
They explained it. I forgot all of that, but it's called a jokata, and yeah, very inspirational. I forgot how we got here.
So wait, this reminds me actually. I don't know, but I like it that we got there.
Yeah.
Just like with organizing, is that part of it? Like they want you to be grounded and feeling.
Yeah, you can use it as a tool in organizing because you're like, now I'm gonna get this wrong. So
yeah,
I would advise those listening to research it on your own. But you're, when you're connected to your purpose. And so if your purpose is organizing, like I want to, I don't know, what are the issues? There's lots. I'm thinking of them all.
It could be like being pro-choice. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because I've worked with them on organizing stuff before. They've recruited me. Mm-hmm. They organized me actually into being like, we want you to tell your story of interacting with Planned Parenthood.
Yeah. So that, like, if you're connected to that, you're using your body and like mind connected. I'm just saying words that I heard. honestly, at this point.
I believe you. I'm sold. I think that is, I could see, I don't know why when you were talking about this, like when you're out, you know, organizing, or let's say you're doing a protest or whatever, like you're trying to, I don't know, those can get really hostile and intense. And like one of the reasons I bowed out of being a part of the Planned Parenthood thing was like, I was just so like traumatized still, like from my experience, that like, not because of them, but just like what had happened with me personally, that it was like, oh, like, I don't know, like that connection and being grounded, because you're going to have people maybe saying crazy shit to you while you're speaking, or like, I don't know, just, you know, that you're pushing buttons by like sharing your opinions or feelings in a community organized way, but like just public speaking or protesting, striking, whatever. I don't know. I was like, whoa, like I could see why you would need to be in tune and regulate. And
and not, they showed a clip. So this is the example. If you've ever seen Denzel Washington's Malcolm X, actually Spike Lee's Malcolm X, but Denzel Washington plays Malcolm X. There's a scene in the movie where one of the brothers got beat up by the police or something like that, and it was Malcolm X and I don't know, 100 men, and they marched to, I think they went to the hospital first, or the police station first, and then to the hospital, and they marched on beat together, and they stopped when he held up his hand, and then he closed his hand, and they turned. They were in like perfect, like soldiers kind of. And the point was how in tune they were with their purpose. And their purpose was to get that man from the police station to the hospital, or, you know, whatever, and make sure that he was going to live. And he didn't deviate from his purpose, even though there were things that like you would have to see the scene.
But I can picture what you're saying.
Yeah, like it was just such a powerful moment of like, when you're focused on that from this centered, grounded space, you are, you know, you together, you're saying it clearly, you're demanding what it is you want, you know, like they didn't say none of that, but that's, you know, just using that metaphor, you know. If you haven't seen Malcolm X with Denzel Washington,
I haven't seen it yet. I want to see it now, because I'm like, ooh.
It's like,
because I'm getting into some organizing now.
Yeah, but it's such a good movie. I enjoyed it a lot. There's a new one coming out, but I don't know much about that one. Anyways.
Well, that's a really good way of picturing it too. Like you're staying on towards your purpose and not getting deterred or distracted by whatever is coming up. Because you can, I don't know what I'm even thinking of, just been taken off. Like I have to go back to, I just thought of it in the work mode, like with my own job. I'm like, why am I doing this? What is my purpose? Instead of because there's a lot of landmines trying to throw me off. Like, and then I always have to be like the students, right. Or like, you know, like closing the opportunity gap, whatever it is. Like, that's why I'm here. We're not going down. We're not getting distracted.
Right. Because you'll be distracted fighting stuff and not even going toward, oh my gosh. And that was the point. It was just like, if you're fighting yourself.
Oh, I'm constantly in fights.
Okay.
See, I need this. Okay. People love taking me off the track.
Like, for real. It'd be a lot going on.
I'm like, this person wants to fight with me? All right, let's do it.
Right. So, like, you're spending energy on what your purpose is, like your focus, commitment.
I need this. Well, damn, we made it over an hour.
Okay.
And that's awesome.
Okay, good.
But yeah, you know, as you were saying this, as we wrap up, I was thinking it's cool. I feel like this all that's went down for you in the last, like, or gone down the last, like, since I met you. I met you like around a time of a huge shift. And now you're like, I feel like you're getting to your purpose.
Yeah, for real. And it's just interesting how things happen. Like, I hate the way, you know, everything happened and wasn't cool. And I love realigning to myself and my purpose, and not allowing, whatever one would want to believe or what I would believe about myself to get in the way of that. Like, because I'm dope.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
and I'm so happy you don't have to leave, because when you're like, oh, I'm going to leave Spokane.
I sure was.
And I was like, oh, no, somebody who's doing really cool shit. I've been saying that for years. It's like I'm like the Eastern Stadium. I don't know. There's a lot of hype about me leaving, and we're excited, but we're not going anywhere.
I mean, I was. But, I was also in my feelings. I'm just like, man, I'm leaving. I'm out of here. And also, I do not want to find a new doctor. Like, oh, my gosh. So I'm staying.
I just got a new doctor, but I love her. So, yeah, but I'm so loyal to my people, like my dentist, my whoever, like they have to like kick me out, like off when they retire. They're like, you have to go get another person.
Not your pediatrician.
No, like, I stayed on his, I stayed with him until I was 18, and he was like, you gotta go. That was like the first sign. I was like, whoa, what's my, okay.
Oh my gosh, you are a nerd.
Yeah. I was like, I'm so committed to you.
I love it.
Well, yeah, thank you so much. And so you're going to be organizing things for the community, it sounds like. So I'm excited to see that work. Yeah. Will there be like, should they go to that website, see what you're doing? Like,
me as a person?
Well, I don't know. Your art. Let's follow your, what is it? Black Box Gallery?
Yeah.
Or Little?
On Instagram, it's Lil Mini Gallery.
Little Mini Gallery.
Lil.
Lil. Oh, Lil. Okay. Yeah. Lil Gallery.
Yeah, Lil Mini Gallery.
I am following it.
Okay, yeah. And my first show is Friday.
What?
Yeah, it's virtual, of course.
Where?
In my apartment.
You should have submitted that to Terrain.
It was too late.
Damn it.
Yeah, next year though, I might have a whole collection.
Ooh. Yeah. Like a little village of gallery.
Yes. Nerd.
I kind of want to join this movement.
Oh my gosh, me and my miniatures.
Because then you have like someone else did one with you, right? Or came and saw it. I don't know. Someone posted about it.
Yeah. That's the person who's gonna be my first show.
Oh.
Yes. And then we're gonna do an artist talk on Instagram Live.
Cool.
On Sunday. Yeah.
Okay.
Check it out.
Yeah. See there, plug that.
Yeah. And then my website is shantellrj.com.
Okay.
Yeah, and actually, don't go there. It's under construction. Just follow me on Instagram, Shantell Renee J.
That's so awesome. Well, and my last thing I always ask every guest, like, what's your hope for our community, for Spokane?
I was gonna make a joke, but make a joke.
You could do that.
Okay, I'm gonna do the joke first. My hope is that like we step out of mediocrity and into
that doesn't
greatness.
seem like a joke. That sounds awesome. I like that.
Yeah, okay, yeah. But also, be great. It's okay. Like we can be great. We can. So yeah.
I like that. We can be.
Spokane. We can.
All right. Well,
not that you aren't. Okay. Not that you aren't great. Like, I don't know. I'm not trying to offend because it's like, oh, we not great. It's just like, it's not that. Just don't be mediocre. And
yeah, don't be mediocre. I like that. I always think we're selling ourselves a little short here. Right. I'm like, come on, you're a badass.
There is a river in the middle of downtown.
It's a badass river too.
There's bridges all.
It's beautiful.
Beautiful.
It's a beautiful city.
Finch Arboretum. Have you
God,
been?
Manitou.
Come on, Manitou.
Even Riverfront Park.
It's just so much good stuff.
There, yeah, I agree. Well, thank you so much for giving to the podcast, and then you can listen to this on anything, really any platform, Spotify, Apple, and I even just got this on YouTube now, so yeah, I'm excited. And maybe you'll come back sometime.
I will. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.